Well, guys, I have a different kind of video today. One of my friends asked me a question, and I thought I would answer it on here. You're watching Professor's Corner. My name is Bill Jones, head instructor of top-level martial arts in beautiful downtown Cuyahoga Falls. I am a black belt under Master Pedro Sauer, and as I said earlier, you're watching Professor's Corner. The question that I was asked by a friend of mine was, hey, I have friends that I would love to get into Jiu-Jitsu. I want to get them doing it. I want to get them on the mat, see how much healthier they could be, how much more confident they could become. But man, getting them in there is just like pulling teeth. They just don't want to come. Bill, what do you suggest? Now I'm going to be honest. So when I decided to open a school of my own, I have done a lot of research in various business practices, and I didn't kind of stumble into it willy-nilly, and that's part of why my school is very successful. But one of the things that I always said I wouldn't do is be a used car salesman. And what I mean by that is, I know school owners that like every person they talk to, they're like, oh yeah, you should come by, you should do jiu-jitsu, you should come by and do karate, you should come by, like everybody they talk to. And I think jiu-jitsu can benefit almost every human being. But I don't believe in just taking a normal conversation with people and somehow spinning it into why they should do jiu-jitsu. Now that's for me, right? Like that's because I own the business. I feel like it feels very disingenuous when I tell people to come do jiu-jitsu, because it's like, oh wait, I thought we were having a conversation. Now he's just trying to get my money. You know what I mean? Like I don't want that feeling to ever be there between me and a friend or a colleague or whatever, because that's not the case. Now, if they ask me about it, certainly I will invite them in to take a class. But it's not something I just offer up to everybody. So my initial response to my friend was, in my whole time training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I've really only had one friend join and start doing it. And he was already a black belt in karate and everything, so it was kind of like we already had this bond. Uh-oh. Is that product placement? Product placement! I don't even know that company. I'm sure they're great. But, we already had this bond, and he already knew he liked martial arts. It was a real easy thing to say, hey, come do jiu-jitsu with me. And it was actually more of a challenge, than anything else, because he didn't think it worked. Just like, anyway, that's a whole different story. He's a black belt now. And then I started thinking, and I'm like, you know what? I have convinced thousands of people to try jiu-jitsu. Just not in the way that most people think. You don't think of marketing and ads and stuff like that as convincing people to do jiu-jitsu, but that's exactly what it does. So my thought was, well, how can I take that and apply it to, how can I get my friends to do jiu-jitsu? Or does it apply? So I think the first thing, if you want to get friends to do jiu-jitsu, is to, and it's going to sound weird, but leave feedback on like Facebook, on Google, reviews and stuff of the place you train, so that people can see it. And think about it this way. You might tell 10 friends that you like jiu-jitsu, and maybe if you're lucky, one of them will ever try it in their entire life. But when you leave a review on Google or Facebook or whatever, then you're essentially telling hundreds of people every day that you like jiu-jitsu and that it's benefited you, and that's a way to get people in. The second part of this is, if your friends see your Facebook page, like, don't train jiu-jitsu in the dark. Don't train it in secret. And what I mean by that is, like, put pictures of you doing jiu-jitsu on your Facebook. Show people it's a part of your life. And it's fun to show off the fancy stuff, but show off the challenges you faced and how you overcame them. I think if you talk about those things, especially on Facebook, where it's not a true conversation, or Instagram, or your Snapchat stories, or whatever you're doing, when it's not a conversation and they don't feel like you're trying to sell them, like, you're both sitting at the bar and the dude's like, yeah, I just wanted to lose a couple pounds. And you're like, oh, you should do jiu-jitsu, man. I do jiu-jitsu and this and this and this and this. And it becomes like, it's not the conversation they came for. You know what I mean? But if it's on your Facebook and your Instagram and all this, and you're not just putting like, hey, here's me doing a berimbolo, which to the average person looks impossible to pull off. Like, and I don't mean that as though impractical. I mean, like, they just look at it and say, I can't do that. Show things that they can do. Show your struggles. Talk about it. Be like, man, another day in jiu-jitsu. I remember day one, I was kind of nervous to come in. I got in there and everything seemed so confusing to me, but everybody was so cool. Maybe you're walking through the door as you're doing the story. Be like, hey, here's Joe. Joe was my first instructor, Hey, Joe, how's it going? And he says, hey, what's up? Like something like that, something genuine from the heart about you, your challenges, your story in jiu-jitsu. And because it's on a time that your friends are ready to digest that information, it might be a little more meaningful to them. It's kind of like ads. When I set up ads on Facebook, like, let's be honest, we all get annoyed. We're scrolling up. There's an ad. Okay, keep going. Or maybe it catches your attention and you look at it for a second or two, and maybe even click to the website it's taking you, and then you're like, oh, okay, going back, and that's fine. Like, the way I set up my ads to, of course, they're in there and you're scrolling through them and maybe you see them, maybe you don't. Not that important. But then, like, anybody who clicks on it, it's going to send them another ad later saying, hey, you seemed interested in this. What do you think? Is this something you actually want to do? And then it happens on like their time, and it's someone who's actually shown interest. And even more so, like if someone comes and puts their information on my website, obviously this is someone who, it's not like it says we'll never contact you. Like, let's be honest, anybody who puts information on a website, that you're going to get contacted by whatever company that is. That's why every once in a while, when it says what's your name, it says Joe Blow, and Joe Blow at yahoo.com, and like, people don't want to, they'll just put fake stuff on there if they want to, if they don't want to be contacted. But most people put it in there hoping we contact them so that we can talk to them about their needs and their goals. And that takes me to the other point, is when you're talking to people about jiu-jitsu, talk to them on their level, on their needs, their goals. And if you've had similar issues. Now, if someone comes up and they're, let's say you're a female and your goals and needs were that you wanted to feel confident in your ability to defend yourself, and maybe lose a little weight, and you're the person you're talking to is like, yeah, I want to get in the cage and do some fighting. It's going to be really hard to meet them on your level. So when you tell them your story, it's going to be hard for them to be interested in it because their needs and goals are so far askew from what yours are. So meet them on their level. Be like, oh, you know what? We have like 3 guys who get in the cage and then they fight. Like, that would be more interesting to them than hearing about how you now feel you can have self-defense and that you lost 10 pounds, right? Like, or that you're more confident. It's just, you want to meet people on their needs and their goals. And that's like, again, I feel like I'm giving you guys like a marketing thing. It's not my intent. It was just a question someone asked me, so I thought I'd answer. Everybody's tuned into, we have a saying in marketing, WIIFM, what's in it for me? So everybody's tuned into that. Like, okay, cool that you lost weight, cool that you can defend yourself or whatever, but like, what am I really going to get out of that? And you are trying to tell them that, but they're only going to listen if it's directed toward their specific needs, their goals, their wants. So that's some ideas. And again, I can tell you that the last time I actually invited someone like that I didn't really know, or that I own, like even a friend of mine, to come do jiu-jitsu was a very long time ago. And it's just something I don't do because I just feel like, obviously, I think it's good for people. Like, I run a school, and that's what I do for my entire life now. I gave up a job in engineering to do this. Clearly, I think it's important. So, like, when people are talking to me about it, I feel that it's kind of disingenuous if I say, hey, you should try jiu-jitsu. Like, I feel like it feels like a commercial. Nobody's ready for that. Like almost like a telemarketer, right? Like, hey, Bill, I came to your house to play Magic the Gathering, not to, get a lecture on how good jiu-jitsu is for me. Or I stopped by, your place to sell you cell phones, not to try to do jiu-jitsu, So that's kind of the way I look at it. But, hopefully this was helpful, gave you some ideas. And if you've been trying to get a friend into jiu-jitsu, I highly recommend you do for a number of reasons. One, it could literally save their life. Two, it's going to make them feel better over time. They're going to feel more confident. And three, it helps out your instructors, right? Like, especially right now, for anybody, depending on when you're watching this, right now we're in August of 2020, still kind of heavy in the whole pandemic thing. And there's still schools that aren't even open, right? Like, so, like, if you can get a friend to come to your school, I can guarantee you it's gonna help your instructor a lot too. So it helps the school, and it brings in good people and helps the culture of the school, and make sure that the people are there are people you trust and that you care for, and all of that is important when it comes to just being in a decent school. All right, guys, I'm done rambling. Hopefully, if you've ever had someone come in, like a friend come in, what did you say to them? What made them come in, on your behest? So let me know. I'll talk to you guys later. Have a great one. Thanks for watching.